Yep. So thanks for your patience, everyone. So this week, as I said, today we'll be discussing about the loops. I think in the last session we have discussed about the data structures, something related to the tuples and lists and dictionaries, etc. I think you guys have recollected. So this week we will be focusing on the loops, especially starting with the if then else, then we got while loops and for loops. But for example, if we start with this if then else conditions and all, so we have these comes under the decision making statements. So it's like an if this condition is true, then yes, then if this condition is false, then this. So it's what you are trying to achieve here is, for example, if I say the condition, then the action, and then else action. So there's one more thing which we need to keep in mind is indentation. So the indentation is very much important. The reason is, for example, if I take up this example, and when I say run, I get the values like an if this condition, if x equals greater than 0, for example, x equals to 1, we're assigning a value 1 to x, and 1 is obviously greater than 0, then says Friday is wonderful. So it has to print Friday is wonderful. Else Monday is the best. But here what we got is Friday is wonderful, and also here we got have a good weekend as well. So the reason behind is, so until here this is if then else. So for example, if I remove this, so this is what the actual if then else works like. If this condition is true, then print whatever we have assigned, else print the statements. So the reason why I removed the other line is, so this has nothing to do with the if then else. So this is like a normal print statement, print have a good weekend, even though if I remove everything, then also it will say have a good weekend. Why? Because it has nothing to do with the if then else. So here, for example, if I push this print statement right from the beginning, saying that, okay, from here. So if I let me remove these statements. So if I run this, so I get an error message saying that indentation error, expected and indented block. In the sense, Python doesn't like the syntax in this format. Okay. So here always it has to be internal, like when you're starting with if condition, and then if the condition is true, then action. So action, it should be internal. It should be set inside. We can't set it on the same like a 0th position. So that gives an error message. So just we should be careful, even if I put it in this condition and say run. So it doesn't work. Even though we say that, okay, the condition is all good, print statement is all good, and what is wrong in this? So that's the main problem. So here we need to make sure that the conditions are set internally. So I will show a few more examples in the upcoming examples at the bottom. What is the reaction? Like, how does Python react? Assume like if you won't put it in this particular position, and what will happen? Okay. So that's based on the indentation which you need to focus on. And coming to the if then else, as I said, it's all related to the decision making. So you got an if condition, then. So there is nothing, there is no such thing called then in this case. In other languages, you'll have some like then, the and then the condition, then um, uh, else. So here in this case, we got if condition, we need to have the colon, then else, colon, then print. So here you can use either the double colon or the single colon, doesn't matter, but at least you need to place the strings in the quotes. So that's what the standard is. And here I did mention saying that the last line print is nothing to do with the if then else. So this is actually the condition, like a simple if then else. How does it work? So let's go to some other examples. Before that, I would also say that there is something called nested if conditions. You got an if then else statement, and within if then else, you got one more if then else statements also. We can have that kind of scenario. So let me pick one more example over here. Okay. So this time, if I say, so here, last time I got is what I got is Friday is wonderful, and this time I got is Monday is the best. The reason behind is this time here I've selected x assigned to 1, and here I've selected as x equals to 0, right? That's the difference. So when I say 0, 0 is greater than 0, this false. So this condition doesn't work at all. So that's the reason it goes to this else statement, right? So especially the else is this, Monday is the best, and the following by the print, right? So this is what happening at the moment. So just trying to say, oh, okay, it's recording. So let's go to some other example, like in nested if. Okay, for example, if I got x is assigned to 4, and if I say 4 is greater than or equals to 0 and 4 is less than 10, yes. Okay, so this condition should work in general. Okay, let's see what it does. But so here print digit. Okay, let me say run. So here, okay, so here 4 greater than, if 4 is between 0 and 10, so definitely digits equals to I'm assigning as 1, and when I say print of digits will be 1. And this time if I say x, I'm assigning to 40. So what will happen is, so this time it's picking up as 2. Why? Because the condition which is being met up here is 40. It's like 40 is greater than 10 and less than 100. So the second condition is being satisfied over here. So that's the reason we get here as 2. Just in case if I type in like in 400, and this time when I rerun it, so I get as 3. And the same case with like in 4000 and run, it's 4. So if this condition, so here I can give one single condition or both the conditions, and I say and is like an we are using the operators. That means both the conditions should be satisfied. If I say or, either of the condition should be satisfied, and when I say and, both the conditions should be satisfied. Then only it can pick up the digits equals to 1 or 2, right? And if I say or, then also it will pick it up. But the thing is that when this condition is satisfied, it picks up this particular line. So when I say 4000, it's falling between this one. So that's the reason it's picking up, okay, if this condition is not satisfied, go to this statement. And if it doesn't, so go to the next. So when we have the nested if then else, so it says if conditions and all, then else if. Here what you've done is else. So just be careful, is elif. So when if, so it's like a nested. We are getting if then else, if then else, if then else. So we got the 3 if then else within this one main if then else. So that's the reason it means elif is nothing but else if. Okay, so this like a short form. So let's pick one more example. For example, I'm assigning a equals to 18, right? When I run this, so if 18 is greater than 10, yes, and 18 by 6 equals to 3. It's a double equals to, it's like any 60 or 18. Yes, this condition is met. So then print A. And just in case if I say 10, right? Let's see what will happen. So it is picking up C. Why? Because 10 greater than 10? No, it doesn't meet the condition. Here also it doesn't meet the condition. Why? Because it's a 10 and A by 10 because 10 by 6. So this condition is not, both the conditions are not being satisfied. So either A or B printed, that's just C will be printed. Just in case, this time I'll say 15. Okay, let's say what it will do. So it's picking up as B. The reason why it is not picking up of the first condition is 15 is greater than 10, but 15 by 6 doesn't equals to 3. That's the reason. So when I say 15 divided by 3, or here you got 6, so it goes to 2.5. So it's not satisfied. So that's the reason it's picking up B. So just make sure that what condition you're using here. So we got only once if then else. So we got one if condition, and we got internally one if then else over here. So that's the reason it says else if. So it depends upon how many if then else or nested loops you have. So based on that, right? I don't think it's a comma is necessary over here. Just let me rerun it. Yeah, it's not necessary. It just say print. Okay. And in simple condition also, we can say if I'm assigning a equals to 7 and 7 is greater than 4, then print. So it's a simple if condition. And here the other way around, if you can say other way around without any else statement, assigning a equals to 1 and b equals to 2, right? So here what is happening? 1 equals to 1, yes, it does satisfy, and then internally 2 equals to 2, yes. So it's able to print the statement whatever present here. So there is multiple ways how we can use the if condition and everything else. And simple way here, if 1 equals to 1, print 1. That's straightforward. And 2 less than 1, then print 2, else 1. So 2 is less than 1, no, right? So this condition is not satisfied. So it's become the second one. So the reason why I'm trying to say is there is multiple ways which we can utilize, and in the upcoming sessions also, when we jump into the other things like numpys and pandas and seaborn or matplotlib, we'll be using if then else conditions and while loops as well to write the code. That's the reason we need to uh, uh, we should be able to write the codes and make sure that what are the different scenarios as well. And here, for example, if I say the same thing and say print if 2 is less than 1 and print 2, else, so here what's happening here is there is something which is being missing here, right? It's like an we are avoiding this print statement, right? Or like another condition. So it's like halfway we are fulfilling the condition. So that's the reason. Assume like if you have added this line underneath, okay, and make sure we are okay, let me run the syntax. Okay, invalid syntax. So what else is missing? We got, yeah, so good. So this one else condition else. Yes, yes, that's what I was trying to do. Why? Because else was set inside, so that's the reason. So see, so initially else was somewhere over here. So that's the reason. It's when it is not sitting in the same alignment position under the if, so it throws the error messages, right? Indentation. So once I pull it back, right? The if I starting with I and E is starting at the same 0th position, so then it will pick up the value. And just in case if I remove this, as I said earlier, so it will definitely say unexpected end of the file while parsing. So it's expecting something, right? So we should be able to understand the syntax errors also, just in case every time it won't go well. Sometimes we get the error messages and we need to understand, okay, what is the error message? So that was one of the example. And let's pick up one more thing. Like we got assigning these three values, A, B, C, and 200 greater than 33 and 500 greater than 200. Yes, both the conditions are satisfied. And just in case, if I say we got A and B we have assigned, okay, 200 greater than 33, yes. Okay. Oh, sorry, it says B, right? So it's 33 greater than 200. No, it doesn't match over here. Okay, in this situation. Else if what happens, are they both equal? 33 equals to 200 or 200 equals to 33? No, this condition doesn't satisfy. And either of the condition doesn't satisfy, and the last condition is A is greater than B, right? So this is what it's happening. And the other way around, if I say 330, right? So B is greater than A. Yeah, absolutely. Why? Because it's 330. So this time, if B greater than A, so the first condition has been satisfied. So it's picking up the first one. And what we are trying to do is here indentation if, else if, and else if, all this sitting on the same 0th position, right? So just in case if I push it inside, it doesn't work. Why? Because these all three should fall in the same position, right? So that's what we need to do. Or else you can also do the experiment like pushing it inside and see how does it react. But make sure, say it's showing that indentation error. So make sure you're giving the right position position, like in the right path. So you got the 0th position, and when I run it, so b is greater than 3. So here, let's pick up one more example over here. Like I'm assigning a equals to 33, b equals to 200. So 200 greater than 33, yes. Okay. So just in case, what will happen here is, if I push it back, okay, and if I give the comments over here, okay, and let's see, indentation. The reason is print, it doesn't like to be sitting on the 0th position. It should be inside, right? So let me run this, say b is greater than a. So this is what it's happening. So we need to know at what position it's been placed. So in Python, this is a strict rule, like at what position you're entering the value, or like in print statement. So that's what. So there's one more example here. What I'm saying is, if the number is positive, we print a proper message. So we're giving us num equals to 3, and if num is greater than 3, 3 is greater than 0, then print. Okay. If I run this, so it's saying 3. 3 is a positive number. Yes, the condition does match. And also, this is all. So this is nothing to do with the if then else, and says this is always printed. And 3 is equals to -1. No. So here, for example, okay, here we are saying num equals to -3. We are assigning -3, and -1. -1 greater than 0. So here, what I would say is -1 is greater than 0. No, it doesn't. So here, what it says is this condition is not satisfied, right? So when I run this, so whatever the lines it's uh, this line is not been printed. So this is always printed. So this has nothing to do with this if then else. So if I remove this, okay, when I run this, so see, this is always been printed. This is nothing to do with the if then else condition. So that's the reason we are able to get the third line. And just in case, if I comment it, right? So when I run, so what we're getting here is num, print num. So 3 is a positive number, and this is always printed. So that's it. Why? Because the second condition is not satisfied. So the -1 greater than 0, it's not possible. Just in case, if I say instead of -1, I say +1, yes, then it is possible. 3 is a positive number. The first condition is all satisfied, and this is also always printed. And even the second one, 1 greater than 0, it's been satisfied. So 1 is a positive number. So both the conditions does work. So there are a couple of two more examples, and then we'll start with while loops. So for example, here num equals to 3. If num 3 greater than 0, then print else. So positive number, okay, and positive or 0, okay. And if I say -3, right? So if I say run, so it's negative number. Why? Because as you know, the numbers, so usually we say -2, -1, 0, and then 1, 2, 3. So here what's happening is 0 and 1, 2, 3, 4. Especially 1, 2, 3, they fall under the positive numbers. Okay, and these ones fall under the negative numbers. So that's what it's trying to verify. Which number does it fall under? And just in case, the same thing here, I'm setting as an input. Okay, when I run this one, it says num equals to float. Float means like in 5.0 or 6.0. If I give this value and say press enter, yes, so it is picking up the positive value. It says input. When you say input, it says enter the value, it asks for its value. So 6 is greater than 0, yes. And 6 equals to 0, no. And if this condition is not satisfied, and it goes to the positive number, right? And just in case, if I rerun the same code and says -5 and enter. Why? Because this time -5 greater than 0. No, this condition is not satisfied, and also it is not equals to 0. Both the conditions doesn't work. So simply it goes to the next else statement, negative number. So just in case if someone wants to enter a value, then the best way is input, and the other way around, it's not mandatory that you need to say float. Just in case what I want to give here is 6.12, something like that. I want to give the decimals also. That's the reason. Let me, what's happening? Okay, let me run this. I went to the next line. Okay. It went to the next line. Okay, just a minute. So here 6.12, yeah, it's a positive number. Okay, so I think everyone has got some idea like in how the if then else works and the nested loops works. So let's pick up this one now. The while loops are slightly different to if then else. Why? Because if then else we can't go with the repetitive options as of while loops. Okay, it's always we checks for the condition and then see if the condition is met, then either print the value or do some calculation and go to the next condition. So while loops are nothing but it's we can use for repetitive sequence of statements. Okay, while loops always used to repeat a sequence of statements, and you can always you can use almost anything for the condition. For example, so for example, if I say a equals to 5, 5 less than 8, yes, always its condition is met. It says when I say print r, what will happen is it goes to infinite. So there is no limit. It keeps on printing the value. Say it keeps on printing the value unless and until I interrupt it. Why? Because so the condition is like it goes to the infinite loop. Why? Because whatever the condition has been made, it it's always satisfied. So that's a simple example saying that okay, it's picking up an infinite loop. So it loops forever. That's what we're trying to do. So this time, for example, if I say a equals to -1, I'm assigning a value. And while -1 is less than 3, yes, it does. It says print r means I'm printing first time. And again, next time what I'm doing is -1 plus 1. So it becomes 0. 0 at the time, your condition is satisfied. And so if I pick up this thing, like as I told you, so here the conditions are met in this way. So here -1, first time is -1. So next time -1 plus 1 will be again the 0. So second time it runs, and again -1, 1 plus again 1, then the 2. So here it goes until less than 3. So what you can say is -1 position, the 0th position first, and 2. So it keeps on adding the values, -1 plus 1, and -1 plus again the plus 1 plus 1. So 4 times the loop will be followed. So just in case if we have like in 4, it goes one more time. If I say run it, say it goes one more time. Says -1, 1, -1, and then it says 0. Yeah, -1 and 0, 1, 2, 3. So we are giving a loop over here. Like we're trying to say that, okay, follow this loop. So while this condition is been met, print the statement, increment the value, and then goes back to the loop, while loop. Okay. And if you want to know in the diagrammatical format, okay, how does it works? I'll show you these conditions. So what happens in general, I told you, right? So here the statement, Okay, then the parentheses. So the indentation which I was talking about, it should be next statement should be pushed internally. Okay, and same case with if the logical condition is met, then the statement, and it should be pushed internally, right? So here with the coming to the while loop, here while the logical condition, I think it is let me zoom it. Uh, yeah, yeah, I think it's visible, right? So here, while the logical condition is, if it's met, then look for the statement, right? So here the same case, while I less than equals to 100, I equals to 1, s equals to 0. So if it's condition is satisfied, it keeps on uh, going through unless and until its condition gets terminated, unless and until, it's like an until. So here the same thing, here what's happening or is it's a loop, right? So we can use the while condition when we are trying to we need to be we need to generate some iterative numbers or like in calculations, then we can use the while loop. There is another way for alternative for while also, we got for also, but there's a difference. Why? Because here while the condition has been met, then it keeps on the repetition, right? So here what's happening is if I'm say x equals to 0, and then while 0 is less than 10, yes, print x. First time it will print 0. Then x plus equals to 1. This is also nothing but what you can say is x equals to x plus 1, right? So this is the alternative way which you guys can write also. Like I'm simply saying instead of x equals to x plus 1, this can also be written as x plus equals to 1. Okay, so this is like an alternative way. If you write even x equals to x plus 1, it does the same thing. If I remove this and say x plus 1, small x, right? Right, it does the same thing, right? The other way around, if I undo it and go back, x plus equals to 1, it does the same thing. So it goes until 9. Why? Because it says less than 10. When we say less than or equals to 10, it also picks the last number. So we should be careful like what we are trying to give and what you're trying to assign. The same case, the other way around, if I'm assigning n equals to 0 while n less than 10, print n, and n equals to n plus 3. So first time it will pick 0, it will print the value 0, and 0 plus 3 will be second time, it will pick 3, and 3 is less than 10, it goes to 3. And again 3 plus 3, again the 6, and 6 plus 3, the ninth. And 9 is always less than 10. And next time also it will try to pick 9 plus 3, 11, is 12, right? 12, but it won't print it. Even though it tries to say n equals 10 plus 3, 9 plus 3 will be 12, but it won't print. Why? Because the condition is not satisfied, right? So this is what we are trying to do. And for example, here also, here what I'm doing is I'm using the while and also else, right? So n equals to 10. 10 greater than 0? Yes. Yeah, it's prints 10 and says 10 minus 1. So this condition is being satisfied until here. Okay, and then else, so once this condition has been satisfied and is completed, else is print n. Okay, so there is no condition after else. So it's only things that okay, the condition has been completed and loop has been completed, and then it picks the next line. Okay, n. So it's not necessary that we need to have this thing, but the only thing is I'm trying to show that okay, how does it perform? So here it says 10 to 1. And after that, what I'm trying to do here is just trying to see if you got anything to express next to the else. I'm trying to say print n or print whatever. You can, instead of print also, we can use if then else or whichever. We can write the codes and everything. Okay. So here I'm just trying to say the print. So let's, this is all about the while loops. And okay, I'll pause for 1 minute. If anyone has any doubts, you can ask me. I'll just give some introduction about for loops, and then later on we can go to the next week session. Anyone has any question regarding the if then else and while loops? Because once you have these basic concepts, then in the next sessions we'll be having the for loop, and then we'll start up with this numpys as well. So we got for loops to be discussed, and nested for loops, and followed by numpys. So once we understand the numpys and all, then we get a clear-cut understanding of how we can discuss about the files and files operations, and how we can read the information from the file, and how to push the information into the file. For example, like an Excel file or something like that. So these are all the operations which we'll be using it. Okay, let me give some brief introduction about for loop, and then we'll end this session. So for loop is again the same concept of while. Okay, so what we're trying to do is Python provides two looping commands, like and while we already discussed. Okay, we also got now the for loops. So what we are trying to is we got a list as well. We are assigning a list to I and say print I. So what are the values assigned to for loops? It's like an loop I in, and then what are these we can have some condition, or we can have the list, or whatever. So it's like again the iterative process. It's a loop. So if I say 6 comma 7 comma 8 comma 9, and when I say run it, okay, it does repeat the things. Okay, it's like an it's also one of the alternative way for the loops. So we got a nested if then else. For example, we'll still discuss the for loops next week also. So you got a for loop over here, right? And of course, this statement here we're saying else in, so that's the reason we're getting the end. So this end is nothing to do with this for loop. Okay, for condition is met, and then else and a print statement. So here with the last example, we got a for loop, and then for loop internally, and then the if condition, right? If then else. So when I run this, what it is happening is here, it will pick up the first for loop, and then it will say, okay, what is the next statement for X in range? So here we need to make sure that when I say for N in range of 2 to 10, right? So it starts with 2, okay? So N start with 2.